When the calendar turns to spring, the sports car racing world turns its attention to Florida and to Sebring International Raceway. The history, the revelry, and the excitement that is spring break for race fans includes the legendary Mobile 112 Hours of Sebring and the opening act for this endurance racing classic, the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge. With nearly 50 race cars filling the grid, the tough physical challenges of this iconic racetrack will no doubt leave its mark on the challengers. Strap in for sports car racing from Sebring right now on Fox Sports. Deep in the orange groves of Central Florida lies a peach of a racetrack, site of round 2 of the IMSA Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for 2015. Welcome to the Microsoft Visual Studios 150 from Sebring. Cars are on track. We're just moments from the start. Let's welcome you to Sebring International Raceway. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha, along with racing champions Calvin Fish and Justin Bell. We're just about 8 weeks removed from Series Round 1 at Daytona International Speedway, which is barely 150 miles away here in Central Florida, but a completely different racetrack. Still, we got off to a great start in Round 1. We expect more in Round 2, Cal.
Bob, Daytona was certainly a great race. When you think about it, all of the big guns came out blazing in that GS class. The race was won by Rumbum, but certainly four-line, Multimatic right there in the mix. But when I think about early season favorites, and we're only one race in, I think the Stevenson Camaros are going to be awfully tough to beat this year. They're coming back to a racetrack they won at last year with the new Z28. They're coming off a two-day test here last week with GM. They sweep the front row. I think they're going to be tough to beat here today. But Justin, Sebring is an awfully tough nut to crack.
It really is, and it doesn't matter how long your race is. There's a multiple applied by the top factory teams of 4 times the energy required, the wear and tear on the cars. Imagine that. It's 4 times tougher on the drivetrain, the suspension, and the driver. And this track is one where a mistake is compounded. The results and the consequences exaggerated. You're doing your own thing, and the bumps catch you out, and the walls are not far away. It's really tough on them. They love it. And so do we.
That's the point. It's tough love. The track is tough, and that's exactly why the drivers love it. Now let's get caught up on the first of our 2 classes in action today, beginning with the big Grand Sport cars. Here's Brian Till.
Well, Bob, I know Calvin likes the Camaros for the championship. Obviously very strong here. Stevenson locks out the front row, as you guys talked about. But you just have to look through the second row to see the other manufacturers that have a shot, not only today, but season long. Multimatic and their Mustang lines up on the inside of the second row. That team very strong, and there's going to be a new Mustang coming along, maybe the next race or two. So they've got a strong shot at it. Maybe the Dark Horse. Outside of the front row, the number 14 Nissan. That car has been very strong all throughout the last couple of seasons. They just haven't had the good luck. Long green flag runs are what they're looking for, and they could be the surprise, not only today, but at season's end. For more on it, Street Tuner, here's Jamie Housellers.
Well, Brian, for the first time in 7 races, there's a Mazda on the class pole position. But for the second consecutive race, it's Super Sub Justin Piscatell who claimed the quickest time in the category. This week, he's in the number 34 from Alara Racing. He's paired with full season driver Christian Shimshak, and the team has worked feverishly to find a car that is compliant over these bumps. They feel they not only have a fast car, but they have a car that is raceable, and they're going to need it with a pair of Porsche Caymans right behind them. In qualifying, top 3 were all within 0.3 of a second of each other. We're expecting the same today.
No question. We've got a great race in store. Now let's talk about this iconic racetrack. Sebring, 3 3/4 miles around, 17 turns. Take us around, Justin.
Well, turn 1 and turn 17, the first and last corners are just magic. What great opportunities. Fast left-hander through turn 1. And then you make your way down to turn 7, the hairpin, some incredible overtaking, but don't hit the guy in front. All the way through the infield, making your way back down the Almond Straight, super fast into turn 17. And remember, parts of this track were laid down over 70 years ago.
That's right. Alex Ullman came up with the idea of building a racetrack, in fact, laying out a racetrack on the concrete runways and taxiways of what was then known as Hendricks Field, now Sebring Regional Airport. And the track is renowned around the world. Let's have a look at some of our onboard cameras. That's Andrew Davis on the number 6 Stevenson Camaro Z28R. As Calvin pointed out, picked up the first victory for that new Camaro last year. 1 of 4 on the season for the team. On board with Billy Johnson now in the number 15, starting right behind the front row. And there's the number 14, Brad Jaeger. Chevy Camaro, Ford Mustang Boss 302R, and Nissan 370Z, then a Porsche 911. Great mechanical diversity up front. And there is Marine Staff Sergeant Liam Dwyer, a full-time Mazda factory driver now, highly decorated combat veteran, living the dream as a racing driver thanks to Mazda.
Matt Bell is going to lead these two Stevenson Camaros to the green flag. His 10th career pole there yesterday, a sensational lap. Let's see what they do here heading down into turn 1.
Looks nice and lined up there, Bob, as they come up. Remember, the starter is waiting just by the famous checkered flag at Sebring here.
Teammates side by side as they head down to turn 1. A high-speed and extremely bumpy left-hander, and they're 5 wide on the front straight at Sebring.
Look at Billy Johnson there in that dark blue, midnight blue Mustang. He slides into the 3rd spot. He'll try and be aggressive here on the opening lap as he now goes side by side. Almost some argy-bargy on lap 1. Deep on the brakes.
GS cars on their way. Now here comes the street tuner class with a separate start all their own. Justin Piscatel and Adam Eisman across the front row in a Mazda MX-5 and a Porsche Cayman.
Working their way. Look at that. Beautiful as they go through turn 1. That is action, Bob. Look at them side by side.
Look at the run around the outside.
Very wide.
Get pinched there.
Hero or zero? He stayed as a hero. That was
McCombie there looking for a run around the outside.
I was about to say, Justin, it's not beautiful until they get through turn 1 in one piece. On board the 26 now with Staff Sergeant Dwyer.
It's important that, you know, although the ambience very hot out there, getting the traction on the opening lap, people are coming off the track already, putting dirt and dust down. Now they're working their way under the bridge. They're down to turn 7. This is a great opportunity when the cars are bunched up to start making those important moves for position. Very difficult to go by cars that are so equal in pace.
Look at Jeff Siegel down to the inside. He's won this race before in GS class. Wow, what a move on the open lap. 56 car there misses the braking point, takes evasive action down at the hairpin.
Discretion, the better part of valor. I think he realized he wasn't going to be able to turn and make the corner, so just go ahead, use the escape road. It's a long race. You'll have time to make up positions.
Reedus and Siegel here going hard at it as we get into turn 10 brake zone.
That was actually Jeff Mosing, who started 2nd in the class.
So what happens in the corner they're just coming through right now? They're about to undergo this big transition as they work around. It's sort of where you go from the new surface to the old. There's a big bump as they go through this right-hander. You'll see it there as the cars work their way through. Meanwhile, at the front of the pack, they've hit the famous turn 17, and I'd say they've driven a very nice, clean lap so far because these cars are big, powerful, and fast as they work their way onto the straight.
Look at Andrew Davis, though. The mid-cornering speed that he could take through turn 17 was in a completely different league to what Billy Johnson was able to hold in that Mustang right in front of him. Matt Bell continues to lead from the pole. Great onboards here. You can see the vibration going through the camera, going through the car. This is what the drivers are dealing with.
Guys, this race may be won by enduring, not based on speed. I talked to all the drivers on the front 2 rows, and they said it's all going to be about tires. The opening driver is going to have to conserve a car, make sure that he doesn't damage it, but more importantly, they're going to have to make sure when that second driver gets in that he conserves the car a little bit and then goes hard over that last 30 or 45 minutes because tire wear here is going to be brutal. It's hot, the racetrack is aggressive, and it's going to punish those Continental tires.
Well, there's definitely a sweet spot with these tires. Talking to the drivers here this weekend, they said there's about 2 or 3 goodie laps, as we call them, in them, and then they fall off a little bit and then plateau. But they said if you really drive hard, you can abuse them to the point you're going to lose the traction you need halfway through the fuel run. So they've got to be careful in these opening laps.
The ST field stringing out just a bit. Pole sitter Justin Piscatel already opening up a gap. Great battle here for 3rd place. Look at all those different brands represented.
Well, Piscatel was on the pole by 3/4 of a second. Right now, Justin, it seems like he's got a similar advantage in race conditions as well.
Remember, if you have that clean bit of air in front of you and you're not in any, as you say, argy-bargy, you're not getting pushed offline, you're not finding the dirty part of the track, it's a bit like driving in the rain. The guy at the front has that opportunity to pull out a little bit. And in this class, with the way they are able to get a little draft from each other and push each other under braking, as we're seeing here, when you're bunched up like this, you're not only attacking, you're defending.
Problems for 56. This is the car that went straight on in the hairpin. Right front tire losing air.
Some damage underneath there. It's like the inner fender maybe have come down as well. So he certainly got into the brake zone way deep. Whether there's any off involved there or any contact that created that problem, we'll have to wait and see. But not a good start for our championship winners here last year.
Action continues on the far side of the racetrack. Beautiful place to watch a race. Look at all those campers behind the fencing there. Folks getting a great view of this event.
This is a tough corner, Justin, coming into the tower turn. Look at that big move there by the gunslinger down into the brake zone.
Jamie.
Well, Jeff Mosing has managed to get that number 56 machine to pit road. The team is prepared for broken front suspension, was what the report was. So, and it is broken suspension on this car. So they do have all the parts and pieces out that they need. They did finish second at Daytona, so they're looking to defend that championship. They need a strong result here today.
Look at this. This is awesome. Billy Johnson and Andrew Davis going hard at it, Justin. And this is hard to do when you're getting racy, but you're trying not to abuse those tires early in the run. Tire management on this racetrack and in this heat is going to be crucial.
And the way you feel that, Calvin, is when you're going through a corner, you get too much push, too much understeer. You know you've got to back out of that a little bit. You can't keep hammering the handling of your car, be it front or rear drive. And what you're seeing here, these guys, it's all about position. You can see they're going in so hard under brakes. The Stevenson car, they're moving around under brakes. When we say management, we don't mean they're going slow.
No.
None of the viewers think that they're not pushing hard. This is to the optimum, the maximum.
We'll have to watch those Stevenson cars closely. I was on a radio show last week with Matt Bell, and I'll credit him with having one of the all-time great poker faces. I said, I know you guys have tested down there. I know you've, oh, touch there. No harm, no foul. I asked Matt Bell, with the changes in performance laid on your Camaro by the series, how did the car test? And he said, well, we tried a few things. I don't really know all the things we changed. But one of the things he mentioned was a change in the braking, going from 6 to 4 piston brakes. So he may run a little bit short if they use them hard early on.
Yeah, they certainly got to be in tune with that. I mean, it's one thing to look like a hero and just take off from the rest of the field, but you need something to A, turn over to your teammate, and also be there at the checkered flag.
Oh, 3 wide down into the hairpin in the ST class. Ambient temperature about 83 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Track temperature has to be up 115 to 120 degrees, I would guess, and the temperature expected to get close to 90 before we're done.
So that Nissan number 41 driven by McMillan. He's one of the gamers from the Nissan GT Academy. He had a great qualifying run, but he's certainly fallen back. Qualified 6th, and you see him in the mix with some ST cars, so he's obviously had an issue.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly about that program, as we know, we see these drivers at Le Mans, we see that they really are developing this amazing breed.
And what I find incredible, I think we see a battle for the second spot here.
Look at them going through there
Side by
side,
side.
mirror by mirror, and they hit that bump on the outside there, Bob. And that is really difficult to hold that outside line if you're trying to overtake someone, but yeah, he's got the inside line there nicely through here. Now this is where you settle your mind down again, because you want a clean exit coming down on that long straight down to turn 7.
Matt Bell must have gotten a great run off turn 17 onto the front straightaway to be door handle to door handle with Billy Johnson down into turn 1, but now Johnson holds down second place. Excuse me, that was Andrew Davis getting the good run. I'm thinking about his teammate Matt Bell, who is leading, and right now he is pretty much out of sight. We'll be back. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway in round 2 of the IMSA Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge. There's a look at our weather conditions. Sebring, located in beautiful country for raising fruit trees. Can be a little tough to spectate at auto races, though. Very warm. Humidity actually low for this time of year. All in all, a beautiful day. Part of a big weekend here in the International Motorsports Association season. There's Matt Bell, who has led this race from the get-go. He has now opened up a hefty lead over his teammate Andrew Davis, who's up into second, but working traffic behind him. And Billy Johnson runs third. 2 Camaros and then a Mustang. Now here's the battle in ST. Justin Piscatel, who started his Mazda MX-5 on poles, has been having a great battle with Chad McCumbee in a similar car. This was Piscatel going back to the class lead just moments ago. Let's go down to the pit lane and Brian Till.
Well, just think back to Daytona. It was the RS1, Porsche Cayman, Spencer Papelli, Luis Rodriguez. You guys had a great run, Spencer. You came away with a win. Surprised a lot of people, but this weekend is not going the way you want to. What's going on with the 17 right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had an issue started in the test day, and as we have gone through the week, we've tried multiple things. The guys have been working their tails off to try to fix this thing, but it's just not right. And, when you run these street cars, a lot of times little gremlins come in that race guys aren't really used to, and it's really hard to diagnose. So, these Caymans have been a lot of fun. I helped my buddy Jim Norman win a championship driving for John Teesey back in 2013. Daytona was great. It's just not happy this weekend, so we're going to try to do the best we can, get some points. And Lewis is out there doing all he can. We'll see what happens, but the idea is to get out of here with the minimal damage.
Gather what you can and move on. That's what they're thinking down here at RS1. Jamie?
Well, another team that had issues during that test day was Freedom Autosport, the number 26 machine we're on board with now. Staff Sergeant Liam Dwyer, who lost his leg in combat back in 2011, his leg in the car, it kept slipping off of the clutch pedal, so they lost most of the day just to refine that process. The old leg that he used was made out of aluminum. The new one is made out of carbon fiber. What it's done, it's more efficient. The driver changes are now 5 seconds faster. They're now down to 25 seconds. He also has a handbrake in the car this weekend just so that he can clean out the brakes over all of these bumps. He said it's given him more confidence than any other developmental aspect that they've gone through with this machine.
By handbrake, Jamie's talking about an actual handbrake up by the steering wheel, not like you'd normally expect in your car that you'd be using. So they're just refining that, and I think Liam does a tremendous job behind the wheel, Justin.
Yeah, it's just inspirational, I think, for in the same way every category, genre, gender that drives out on the track inspires another generation. It inspires people to realize, hey, listen, there's an awful lot you can achieve despite what life serves you up. So suddenly, I tell you what, it was interesting a minute ago as we listened down here into turn one on board the Mazda. They're so flat through turn one. These little things are absolutely on the limit. And I did a race years ago. This lever here, you can see right here is what we're talking about. And a little dab of the brakes there, up, down shift. Very sweet, really nice.
We know that racing has always been a great test bed for new and innovative ideas. Maybe this is something that has potential to carry over to street cars for folks who are challenged physically when it comes to driving.
Yeah, well, on the streets of LA, that means all of us. Unfortunately, most people shouldn't have a license in California. When I watch people drive around me, look at them go though. These cars are so fun. I remember when this little car came out, the first one of these was hit the streets. I did one of these races, SCCA, and it is just a blast. And I think that's what's great about watching the ST racing is, remember, enjoying driving fast and close competition is not the domain of big money. It's about great cars, great competition. And as we rejoin right up at the front here, Andrew Davies having a very good run.
Second, he's taken a couple of tenths of a second off his teammate Matt Bell's lead. He was having to deal with slower traffic. Now it looks like it's nothing but clear racetrack between Davis and his teammate.
Yeah, he really got hung up about 2 laps ago, but the way it works for him is once he got free of Johnson, he was able to actually just put his head down, but it made some great racing at the start. And as we look down Holman Straight there, this is fast, and look at the heat haze. It's hot as the leader heads into turn 17.
It's not Africa hot yet, though. It's just hot.
Did I go there? No. You just saw the Serengeti, did you, Calvin? Is that what you were getting confused about?
It's actually for Sebring. It's not, like you said, Bob, low humidity relatively for this time of year here in Florida. So not bad conditions, but certainly it's the first real test. Daytona's relatively cool, of course. So for these guys, it's been an 8-week break since they've seen any real racing action in the series. So it's certainly an adjustment. You certainly train hard, and in those breaks, you do as much as you can in the gym. But there's nothing like being in the race car under these sort of conditions, particularly when you get the heat soak of the race. Now, if you obviously, about 40 minutes in here, 25 minutes in, it really makes a big difference.
I'm reminded every time we come here of how beautiful it can be here in Central Florida, surrounded by these orange groves. Whoa!
That's not time management, Bob.
That is a big slide.
Yeah. They're at that point right now. You know, you're 11 laps into this race. You start to get some real temperature up in the tires. They are not as good as they were 8 laps ago. And you'll find with them there's a sort of degradation in the tire grip, and then you have to balance it at that point.
Brian Till talked about look out for the Nissan today on the long runs. The car is kind of on the tires. It's not super aggressive on the tires. A very balanced race car. It looks right, as you mentioned, Justin, and it's really showing its strength here. Qualified 2 cars in the top 6. Brad Jager, who now sits in this 4th spot. That's where he qualified, and he's coming on strong.
Yeah,
Another look at the drift.
Came off the right-hand curb, just turns in, and just a little bit of rotation. He goes, and nicely driven. I mean, a 0 event in terms of trauma. It's just showing that the rear tires on a Mustang will start to go, and it's the dynamics of it. I was very interested a second ago, I was going to mention, you see the amount of weight transfer in these cars, and a man that actually knows a lot about weight transfer, having driven the Viper, Jamie's down with him now.
Yes, that's Kuno Whitmer. Kuno, we didn't see you behind the wheel of this number 93 machine at Daytona. When did this program come together?
I mean, this entire program came together about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, not more than that. And, you know, Kurt Baker from Honda of America Racing, they called me up and they said, hey, would you like to go back into an ST car? I'm like, sure, why not? I mean, it's definitely not a step down, as a lot of people would think. I mean, this class is so competitive, and, you know, it's really thanks to, you know, the Continental SportsCar Challenge for making everything so competitive and so real for drivers. And being part of the Honda America team, Honda Performance Development, you know, the Honda Civic, you can't ask for better. It brings me back to my old touring car days.
All right, and Kuno was telling me, guys, just before this that they're waiting to see if this program's going to continue with him in the car after Sebring, depending on how they get along. He said him and Chad are getting along just great. Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Down at Fall Line, Trent Hinman watching his teammate Ashley Freiberg out on the track right now. And Trent, for you, I know you know this racetrack well, but you don't know it from this weekend. You've been gone. This is going to be your first time in the car. How much of a challenge is that to take over a car running in the top 5 and try to take it to the front?
Well, it's definitely going to be tough, you know. Obviously, track conditions are very different compared to last year, so, and obviously it's always hard to compare a track year after year. So, I mean, I know the track well enough to where I'm going to be comfortable getting in the car and just kind of feeling my way around, but you know, aside from that, it's just going to be down to adapting to the condition and really getting used to the greasiness of the track in this heat. So overall, these Fall Line guys have done a hell of a job setting up this car this weekend. Big shout out to John Edwards for helping Ashley out in car setup and in practice and everything. So,
well, I should point out that you weren't like at the beach over the last couple of days. It's not like you missed this on purpose. Do you even want to tell us, or can you tell us where you were?
Well, I got to keep it quiet for now, but I was fortunately doing some testing over in Spain this week, so it's definitely a little bit of a challenge having to come here and adapt to this and just jump in the car midway through the race, but I'm looking forward to it. I always like new challenges, and this is definitely not ideal, but we'll make it work. We'll make it happen. We'll make this IHG Trimtex BMW go around the track.
So not only has he not been here, but he's got a little jet lag going as well, guys.
That was exactly what I was going to say. You have to throw a transoceanic flight into all of that. So now we can check all the racetracks in Spain and see who is testing what, see if we can figure out what the reigning class champion is doing. Meanwhile, his teammate Ashley Freiberg has that BMW up in 5th place. Good race car. We'll be back.
And this is Sebring Race Circuit, right in the heart of Florida. One day, not so long ago, Sebring was the scene of some of the world's greatest races. Those are the days that I remember. So let's return to the glory years of Sebring.
Glorious years indeed, and we should point out the concrete you saw in that ancient video featuring Sir Sterling Moss and the concrete you see in the foreground there, all part of the runways and taxiways of what was once Hendricks Field, a World War II bomber training base. That is the original concrete. You are truly in the tracks of the racing legends when you race at Sebring. We are back under green with just over an hour and 33 minutes remaining in the race.
And again, different strategies are playing out here. The two leaders going up hard at it right now. They've both made a pit stop. They're relatively full of fuel, and they do have fresh tires. So expect those guys to stay out as long as they can and maybe make the rest of this race on just one more stop. Anthony Mantella sits in the third spot. He only has about a third of a tank left in his car, so he's going to stretch it and see what the team can do with the strategy, Justin.
You can see, actually, the cars look so much sharper when they're running on those new tires. That is just really look tight and ready to go. Brian?
You talk about Mantella Motorsports, both of their cars running well, the 80 and the 8, and that short yellow that we just had really kind of caught the team out on the pit wall. Kyle Marcelli, Mark Wilkins ready to take over in the 8 and the 80 respectively, but we went back to green after that short yellow. The crew left sitting on pit wall waiting for their next opportunity to make that stop.
And a short yellow occurs either in the last 30 minutes of the race as a different type of procedure or within 15 minutes of a preceding yellow flag period. So with the short yellow, pit lane stays closed. So those guys want to bring those guys in, do a driver change. They're past the 45-minute mark, but the rule does not allow you to do that until you get to a restart. So little quirk in the rules there. They ran afoul of.
There's Matt Plum, who took over for his brother Hugh under the caution flag just as we were going green. They came in once they got past the 45-minute required drive time. We'll see if Joe Vardy's strategy plays out, but Matt is obviously on the button.
And he's at the bottom of a very tall ladder right now, running right at the back of class, and the car's fast. Obviously, we know he has the skills, but there's a lot of good people up ahead as they head down the back straight there with Calvin's African heat haze.
Well, with the rum bum car, they only have 2 more laps fuel on board than the 2 leaders, but they've got the driver change out of the way. So with a full fuel load going on, you wouldn't think it would be a big advantage. So I think they've still got a bit of work to do.
Anthony Mantella on the right. You recognize those legendary Gulf Oil colors. The Mantella Motorsports team goes to great lengths to point out this is an approved use of the Gulf Oil colors. They have the exact licensed hue of blue and orange on that car, courtesy of Gulf Lubricants of Canada.
That's a great team, expanded to a 2-car operation this year. 2 cars right towards the sharp end of the qualifying field, and 2 great finishing drivers in that squad as well.
Jeff Siegel running at the front there. Oh, okay. Big turnaround for the BMW, 81 BMW there.
He's going to have to sit there for a moment. There's traffic coming through. He's just past the apex of the corner, the tunnel turn.
There's a Tanto behind the wheel.
Yeah.
The drivers, it's pretty much a blind corner for drivers coming down from top speed on the Ullman Straight to make that final corner. He'll be there for a minute.
Once again up front, Matt Bell now has settled into a rhythm and just seemed to have the edge in performance here. We're looking at a replay here. Looks like he may get tapped.
Oh,
yeah, he does.
He was.
Just maybe one of the Genesis
another one of those Hyundais there. Yeah.
And you're already light in the rear end there, Justin, coming over those bumps in turn 17. And if you get any help whatsoever, you're not going to hang on to it.
Yeah, not fun at all. And of course, on the exit right now, he's on the inside. Interesting, second car we've seen in the last 15, 20 minutes that's not been able to get going again. He's trying to start it. Look.
Yeah, I think he's lost the fire.
Okay. Bad spot right there. That's gonna, if he doesn't move, that will pull a yellow out.
Yeah, and that will be a longer yellow because it basically goes long yellow procedure, short yellow, back to a long one, alternates. So if we get another one quickly, even though it was within 15 minutes of the preceding one, it'll go back to a full procedure, which takes a bit of time and can allow some of these guys to work on their strategy.
Now this is a different incident. It's the 26 Mazda. Andrew Carbonell defending.
Oh, okay. Give him fair due.
Yeah,
it wasn't his. He just lifted off because he saw the car in front spin up in the distance and chain reaction. Now, bear this in mind as they go full course. No one in race control wants to throw this yellow. They are willing.
Yeah.
Right now, the race director is up there willing that BMW to get off the track, and it hasn't been able to do so. No one needed this right now.
Yeah.
Just increases the drain on the driver, the temperatures right now. They want to keep moving fast.
Well, Hartanto hasn't moved. I think we have a Porsche Cayman by the side of the road as a result of that 4-car nose-to-tail accordion job. So we are under a full course caution for the 3rd time at Sebring. Hey, folks. Back at Sebring International Raceway as we continue with the Microsoft Visual Studio 150, round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2015 here on Fox Sports. Swinging onto the Ullman Straight, cars swerving left and right to clean the tires as we get set to go green after our third full course caution of the event.
Yeah, they're certainly cleaning them and not warming them in these conditions. It's like they'd be looking for a few puddles out there this afternoon if they could hit them, trying to cool these tires down. But sort of a reset here. Matt Bell, our pole sitter, continues to lead. Billy Johnson has split the two Stevenson Camaros, and look who sits in fourth. That rum bum machine. He's got 2 more laps of fuel on board than the leaders, and they've got their driver change out of the way. Maybe that'll be the critical time differentiator on the pit stops.
Now officially 76 minutes into the event. A lot of pit action under this caution flag. Lots of drivers changes. At least the ST car should be good to go to the finish, so it'll be a straight fight. 1 penalty for speeding in the pit lane to the LaRue brothers in the number 4 car, currently shown 11th in the ST class. They'll serve a penalty. We are green.
Wow, nice start by Andrew Davis there. Tries to slide it to the outside of Billy Johnson, and he makes his intentions known early.
It's a tricky corner, that, because you do have to decelerate before entry in a big car like this as they work their way into that very tight turn 3-4 section onto that back straight. Now, what you're doing right now is you're thinking, Andrew Davis is thinking, let me get a good exit out of here. You see how he checked up so he can try and get a better run on the 15 as they head down towards 7. He executed that very nicely, but of course Matt Plum is all over his little mirrors.
Yeah, and I think Billy Johnson, I think if he's got anything right now underneath the hood of that Mustang, he's going to try and use it to try and get the lead of this race. Then maybe try and control it a little bit in terms of Matt Bell has had tremendous speed here today, and he doesn't want him to have a big margin when they make that final pit stop for the day.
It's all about the yin and yang of pushing too hard but keeping your tires under you. They need to push very hard, but you could find if you were a little more modest with it, you could easily overtake the guy in about 10-15 laps time.
The good news is, from that perspective, you can be a little bit more aggressive because you know when you turn it over to your teammate, they're going to get a fresh set of tires. So you probably need to do about another 15 to 20 minutes run here. Then you could potentially do that last stop and get your other driver in.
Look at them working their way through the transition of surface there from tarmac back to concrete, and as they head their way through this incredible section. This is very high speed. A lot of fans like watching through here. Cars fully loaded up. Look at the weight transfer there.
Yeah.
That was amazing seeing it on the Sherry.
Right here, the transition, change of direction is hard. The amount of weight that these guys are trying to control here with the platform and the chassis and the suspension is really key here in this type of corner. It's still relatively high speed, and you're doing that quick change of direction between 15 and 16.
The cars will be set up to be as stiff as possible to get a nice level plant of the setup, but at the same time, you've got to have a little bit of softness in that suspension to handle the bumps, or you'll break the car and or the driver.
It's getting very crowded there. Look at the movement as you get to the back of the GS, heading towards the ST back there.
So Austin Cindric there making a little bit of a move there. He's up into the 6th spot in the second of the Multimatic Fords.
Bit of tactical drift going on there across the Ullman Straight.
Andrew Carbonelli was actually leading that group down into turn 17. These guys are pushing very hard. This is a great class to watch.
Just to note, Trent Hindman is now behind the wheel of the number 46 4-line BMW, so they've made that driver change. Remember, Trent Hindman has seen 0 action here this weekend, been off testing in Europe. They did do a test here during the offseason, right before Daytona. He did do a few laps. Spoke to his team manager, Michael Harvey, this morning. He said, no, Trent did get a few laps in this winter, so it hasn't been a year since he's seen action here at Sebring.
We talked earlier about the Nissans, particularly the Kevin Doran cars, the 14 and the 41, being easy on their tires. They picked up a few spots on their pit stops under the yellow flag. And right now, Brian Heidkotter, Nissan GT Academy graduate, runs in 10th place in the 41. BJ Zacharias 13th in the sister car, the 14.
Well, they've made a second pit stop, Bob, and I think that's why they're a bit further back down the order. They've got that driver change done,
right, and
they're a bit more full of fuel. So Kevin Doran is playing the strategy card here a little bit.
Terry Borchella there in the 23 BMW. We were just following a second ago.
Big recovery for that team. Didn't qualify well, and
I was talking with Terry just earlier this morning, and he's, you know, is there anyone fitter and stronger and more experienced? He looks in great shape, and you know he's so dedicated. And we were talking about the changing of the guard, the transition, and we were saying how there's a trend at the moment towards the young drivers. But remember, this is a sport where you can be a mature driver and deliver the goods with frequency and perhaps with less risk. And that's why Terry is just so good at what he does.
They won that championship a couple of years ago, and certainly the team has performed well. Jim Bell engineering that. He's got great chemistry with Terry Bourchel. They've won a lot of races together over the years, and championships for that matter. So that's really the key. I mean, these cars, there's not a host of things you can do to them, but they're very tunable. And having an engineer that you know well and work with well, and you believe in each other, and you understand the terminology that each other is using. You can sometimes take the two best guys in the business in terms of engineer and driver, but if you don't communicate, you're not going to be successful.
Here comes the ST class. Andrew Carbonell leading Greg LaFouge. Let's go down to Brian Till.
Mike Johnson up on the box right now for Stevenson. Obviously, both cars running well, but let's talk about Andrew Davis right now. Understand some kind of electrical problem, no cool suit, no drink bottle, no helmet blower. Was that fixed on the stop, or is he still there?
No, everything's still not working. They're all on 3 separate systems, so there could be 3 individual problems. One of the biggest problems these cars have is that they can't pull outside air to cool the driver down. The air all comes from the cockpit. There's no ducts. You can't put any hoses outside the window that you might see in other classes. So it just gets really hot, and when one thing fails, it kind of just overtaxes everything else, and you can't get cold air to go help anything else. So he's struggling, but he's still running in the top 3, and you know, these are all professional race car drivers, and they figure out a way to deal with it.
They're in good shape. I know that you guys are going to be pitting before long. How long do you think that might be? And then Robin's going to have to deal with that problem to the end as well.
Yeah, well, we've done this to Robin a few times, so he's used to it, and he's had an hour plus to prepare for it. But yeah, I mean, we do about 50 to 55 minutes on a tank of gas, so when that window opens, we'll get Andrew out and get Matt out, put Lawson in, and see if we can finish this so far very good weekend.
And when they do, Andrew Davis is going to be one tired race car driver, and Robin Liddell is going to have his hands full of Camaro to the end.
It's going to be a long 15 minutes or so for Andrew Davis, but certainly the adrenaline helps, and when you're running towards the front of the pack, it keeps you going.
First and third are the Stevenson Camaros. Qualified 1-2 for this race. Johnson confers with his brain trust on the War Wagon. We'll be back to Sebring in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sebring and the Microsoft Visual Studio 150, round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2015. I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Justin Bell, Brian Till and Jamie Howe down in the pit lane. Into the second half of this race, and we have a new leader in the ST category. Greg LaFouge got around that man, Andrew Carbonell. Here's how it happened.
Just uses the draft here nicely down the front straightaway. See a little bit of debris there in the middle of the straight, no problem there. And what a debut for this new team. It's really a sister team with the Bimmerworld team. They want to campaign these Porsches. Obviously, Bimmerworld and Porsche doesn't really go together, so they've established this next-level European Porsche Cayman team. LaFouge has a lot of experience in this class now and takes it to the front.
Tell you what was impressive about the way these guys drive is they really make it stick when they make a move, because remember, it's all about mid-corner rolling speed when you're driving a car that isn't reliant on horsepower but is on handling. And turn 1 is a great example of how you can do that, but you've got those bumps on the outside. So actually, Greg, they're doing a fantastic job of making his car stick on the exit.
26 cars running in the second spot, but they were one of the first of these ST leaders to make a pit stop. Jamie, how are they doing on fuel?
Well, I just checked in with the team. They say they are right on the edge. Another caution would help them tremendously. But right now they are telling Andrew that they need to conserve fuel, so they're planning on going for it.
Well, he's in the best spot, right up someone's chuff there. So he's cutting the air for him, and maybe he can just ease out the gas pedal a little bit. You see the damage. That's not going to help his aero when he had that little punt
that's
there
my
towards
question.
the tower turn.
I wonder if he's bent any ducting.
Look at this battle.
These guys are going at it. That is magnificent. Look, you're seeing there right as Johnson's tucking underneath Davis through there. I mean, they are on the edge. They've been on the edge since the lap 1 right now.
And look who's right there behind them. Matt Plum in the 13 car, the Rumbone Porsche.
He's actually sitting there like a big fat black crow on a telegraph pole, looking down at the action below him, waiting for chaos to ensue so he can pounce. Because he's just sitting, he's using less of the car, he's using less of the brakes, he's just being able to actually do everything he needs. And my prediction is if either they make a mistake or just on the way the balance is before the tire before the driver change, he'll be able to go by Calvin.
Yeah, that Porsche looks really balanced. Remember, he does have a couple of laps more fuel on board. That's assuming that they all topped up and assuming they're all getting the same fuel mileage here at Sebring. So you'd think they got a little bit of an advantage there. So Vardy, you know, he rolls the dice sometimes, and sometimes you don't quite understand it, but I've never seen him be wrong, which is really annoying sometimes.
I probably should have said vulture, not crow, because crows aren't known for their carnivorous habits, but you got the picture.
Oh, you ever driven down a highway, spotted some roadkill? The crows everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this is good
lovely
stuff.
metaphor. Back to the ST battle.
Not so much for saving fuel.
Yeah.
Not sure he got that message.
But we were running, remember, on the front of the 26, there is a little bit of damage.
He is rolling out of the gas. He is rolling out of the gas.
You see, this is
Maybe
good,
that's fuel
bad
saving.
damage there for him on the front, which you don't know what it's doing to his, you know, the radiator at the front there. I mean,
I think to Bob's point, I think he may be saving fuel there. You saw him rolling out of the gas pedal as the other guy's hammering down into the corner. So a lot of people say, I'll just cut the revs a little bit. Really just jumping out of the gas pedal, shutting the throttle off completely into the brake zones, and then just using the brakes a little bit later on is really the best way of saving fuel. So Andrew Carbonell, a youngster in this series, has had many wins, but he understands the game, and he's got the experience now to live within these circumstances that he's been dealt and still try and get the car home first.
Look at Owen Trinkler there in one of the most colorful liveries you will see. What shade of purple is that? Right now it's third place purple.
It's like a big bruise. Purple and black, there he is. One thing's for sure, they'll see him coming.
It's a great effort that they've done. I mean, they ran the minis for a while. They've got the Cruise America support on board once again. He and Sarah Catania have had great results over the past few years in this ST class. They're a great combination, and when they don't have bad luck, which unfortunately they seem to get quite their share of, they're always a factor.
And this gaggle is following closely. Meanwhile, back to the pit lane and Jamie.
And Justin Piscatell, we saw start this race from the pole position. Unfortunately, though, on that pit stop, they did slip back a little bit. But I was talking to the team, and they said that it was their very first pit stop. So, Justin, when you got out of the car, what kind of car did you hand over to Christian?
Oh, we handed over a pretty good car. The track's getting really greasy. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, so we're really struggling with the brakes just because you got to be careful with them, and the car's really starting to slide around a lot. So we're really trying to manage pace. And on the restarts, it gets even harder because there's so many marbles on the track. It's hard to get them all off. But when we're in clean air, the car's really good, really strong, so hopefully he can work his way back up to the front. You know, Continental Tires are doing a great job of staying strong throughout the long run. They're really dealing with the heat. You know, it's just a matter of time here. We got to see if he can work his way back through the traffic.
You started the season in the Porsche at Daytona, to the Mazda here, to the unknown at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. What is that like for you when you don't have a full season drive, but you're performing?
It's a bit stressful, you know. You get kind of bummed out. You're like, what do I need to do to get into a car? But I mean, all you can do is keep trying and go out and do your very best every time and focus on what you need to do and just keep being here. You know, if I wasn't at the track, I wouldn't have these rides. So keep showing up. You know, can't thank Mazda enough, and Alara Racing. These guys bust their butts for me. They've really done an amazing job. So hopefully we can get it back together for him.
He's keeping his nose to the ground. Good job. Thank you.
Well, he's certainly making a statement, Bob. I mean, not only to be here to get a ride and then stick the car on the pole, 2 races in a row in a very competitive class in different cars, different teams. I mean, that boy's got a lot of talent.
Absolutely. Go down the pit lane, pole for hire. Half pole will travel. Back to the front, Billy Johnson with Matt Plum all over him, battling for 3rd place. The 2 Camaros of Matt Bell and Andrew Davis out front. Back at Sebring International Raceway, flying through turn 6, Gurney Bend, headed for the hairpin. This immortal racetrack. What a thrill for all of these drivers to race at Sebring here in the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge. Getting close to anticipated pit stops by the Grand Sport front runners to make the all-important driver change and set themselves up for a 50-minute or so run to the checkered flag. ST class battle for the lead. Greg LaFouge leading Andrew Carbonell. Meanwhile, the Rum Bum car is in, Jamie.
That's right, and as we've talked about, they had a little bit more fuel on board than the other GS cars, so it won't take quite as long to fuel it, but they are putting on 4 new Continental tires. Matt Plum staying in the car right now. He was
Tires on the rear. Tires on the rear. Tires on the rear.
He was so excited about being able to do another race with his brother. When they won at Daytona, they were not sure if they were going to be able to do any more races together. So this team working really hard. Pit stop almost complete. He's out.
And I think there was a little bit of miscommunication there. I think they thought they were just doing 2 tires, then 4. Brian's at Stevenson.
Driver change complete. They'll get the 4 Continental tires on. And you hear him tell Robin Liddell, go, 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 go. And right now, remember, no cool suit, no drink bottle, and no air blower in his helmet. Robin Liddell's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, that Rum Bum stop should have been a bit quicker, so...
he might have picked up the position, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see that... I think that's Billy Johnson's car in the background there, which will now be driven by Scott Maxwell finishing here this weekend. I think they're going to alternate their qualifying and finishing order throughout the course of the year, so he's got a little bit of ground to make up there.
That was I mean, it is the big, obviously critical pit stop right there, but God, look at the temperature. You can see it written all over his face there. Whee. Yeah, that's right, mate. You have a big breath, Andrew.
Great job, Andrew.
That was tough.
Yeah, I bet it's hot, Andrew. From Athens, Georgia, I'm sure the cockpit temperature in that car was well above 100 degrees.
Oh, well.
If you don't think these guys are athletes, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah, it's probably like 120, 130. They get pretty brilliant. You get a lot of heat soak as the race continues. But
and as Michael Johnson pointed out, you get no air in the car in these big GS machines. And the engine's out in front of your feet.
It's still very sporty at the front
dead
there.
air is a problem. You need some flow, too, as well as the quality of the air is so important. And we end up, a little bit wide there by LaFouge down into the hairpin.
Pounced on the opportunity there, but he's still got to just acquiesce a little through there, but he could have the inside as you come down into that. Ooh, very, very tight racing there.
Again, let's not forget this 26 car is a little bit short on fuel, so they got to be smart here and not use any more than they need to. The leader's in, Brian.
Driver change going on for the number 9, the Stevenson Motorsports Camaro. They will take 4 tires. I'm looking at the left side tires going on, and the crew's setting up right side tires on the wall. Full load of fuel. A little more comfy in the cockpit here in the 9 as all the driver aides are working here, and they'll get this 9 back out in front. They pitted from the lead. The other car in the lead in ST right now, the 83. Checked with that team on fuel. They are very close. In fact, they're a little bit short. They'll need another full course caution in order to make it to the checkered flag.
Also pitting right now, the Mantella Autosport number 80. Remember the car that Martin Barkey went bouncing across the grass with earlier in this race. Now in the hands of Kyle Marcelli. There it is to the left of your screen.
And they should need a lot less fuel, so that should be a relatively quick pit stop. We're going to look for the 6th car, the Stevenson car. Here comes Robin Liddell. It's going to be Lawson Aschenbach behind the wheel of the 9 car, and I think Robin's going to get it.
He's going to get him for sure. He's got a full head of steam.
Must have been an awesome outlap by Robin Liddell there, and maybe Matt Bell was balked a little bit on his inlap, but a big difference there.
That was fantastic. I mean, that was playing it out absolutely perfect as far as Liddell was concerned. Now, in all honesty, these temperatures obviously tire temperatures will get up very, very quickly, but you still have that new tire handling deficit on the opening half or 3/4 of a lap, and right now he knows exactly the measure of the car in front. Obviously, they know each other, they know how the cars work, they know the way the cars are set up, and they've taken full measure and full stock of everything. But this is what a great pit stop and outlet sequence. Very good.
Let's hear about Matt Bell's drive with Brian.
Down at Stevenson Motorsports, Matt Bell is out of his number 9. Andrew Davis out of the number 6 as well. We'll go to Matt first. Obviously, with the driver aids working in the 9 car, everything was good. How hard could you push it and still have a car left over for your teammate?
You know what, I was telling him on the radio, this is the best the car's been for 2 weeks, right? We spent a lot of time testing, a lot of time practicing. They nailed it. It was perfect. It's exactly what we needed for this kind of track. They were expecting it to go greasy. They put a setup in that would be good in the grease, and it was absolutely perfect. Braking, turn in, power down was exactly what we needed. Driver cooling was fine. I was trying to conserve it as much as I could for Lawson, so I'm definitely cooler than Andrew here, but you know, it definitely gets hot in those cars.
Yeah, Andrew, you got a little frustration look on your face when you heard Matt say driver cooling was fine. How brutal was it out there for you? Obviously the car handling well, just not comfortable inside.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I mean, it failed immediately. The cool suit didn't work from the beginning. The helmet blower is not very effective either, so it was tough. The caution laps helped me out a lot, and I was able to conserve some energy and be able to run till the end there. But you know, kudos to Matt. He did awesome in qualifying, and then backed it up in the race. He took off. I was more disappointed yesterday with qualifying because I was on the outside of the front row, and I've been there before, and I know what happens here. And somebody that charges hard like Billy Johnson, you can't keep him at bay without costing yourself something more severe. So I had to have him in front of me for a while, and he was driving me really hard. But it was fun driving. I finally got by, but never able to close the gap on Matt. But really proud of the team. The cars are great and were great.
As tough as it was in the cockpit, do you think any of us on the Fox crew would have lasted in there?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, no, not even you.
No, not even me, guys.
Especially you.
Well, that's what you get when you test efficiently. Is a good race car on race day. I think Formula One could learn from the importance of testing, but that's a story for another day. Trent Hinman cycles to the lead. Remember, he didn't have a minute in this car before he took over from teammate Ashley Freiberg. They now run on the point for BMW. We'll be back with more from Sebring. Kudos to Andrew Davis. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway, blasting down the long Ullman straightaway, headed for turn 17. On board with Robin Liddell. Keep an eye out as we go through this tunnel corner. There was a wheel sitting just off the racing line. It came from the ST class BMW of Terry Borcheller. We talk about Sebring being hard on the race car, breaking parts and so forth. Take a look at what happened to Borcheller.
Wow, that's a ride. It's a hairy enough corner anyway, let alone losing the left rear of the loaded tire, Justin.
Yeah, right at the most loaded point as you turn there.
Not only did he lose it, he lost it because the wheel actually broke. The spokes just cracked and broke. There's the wheel, minus the hub.
I tell you what, congratulations kudos to Terry for missing that, you know, for handling the car all the way through and taking it off track without really causing much interference to the ongoing race. Good job, mate.
Andy Lally now takes the race lead.
With these Rebel Rock guys, Andy said, you know, one of my goals in life is to win the Porsche Cup, and he said over the years I've come close a couple of times. He just realized if I had a really good GS ride to go along with my Tudor ride, maybe I could make it happen. So that gave him some inspiration to pound the pavement on the paddock and find this ride for this year. And this is a great little team that have really done some great things in their early days, relatively speaking, in the sport. And Andy's, as we all know, is one of the best in the business. So has the lead right now. He's going to need him at another pit stop, so I don't think he's going to hang on to it, but still a strong run today.
The annual Porsche Cup goes to Porsche's most successful privateer driver based on various series run. They weight the numbers, and it is a very prestigious honor. A team, Rebel Rock, owned by Jim Johnson, a Floridian and a highly decorated music producer, worked with lots of top stars. And he is a racing guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy as well. Really loves this sport, has a lot of passion. Really works hard at it on the marketing end and in terms of setting up a great team and hiring the right people and trying to get some great talent behind the wheel as well. So Lawson Archenbach is probably sick of this site. I mean, he's made the transition over to this team for this year. He's been a GM factory driver for a number of years now, running with the Stevenson group. But at Daytona, he had to sit behind Robin Liddell and finished on the podium, but wanted a bit more. And he's probably trying to figure out, how did that happen? My teammate Matt Bell was controlling this race. All I did was get in the car, and suddenly I'm second. So something went a little bit awry there.
I tell you what, it was just an excellent outlap and an excellently executed stop. And at this level, it doesn't take much to find yourself from first to second. But when we say second, he's probably 100th of a second behind right now and rolling exactly. And you do have the opportunity and the advantage when you're lying behind someone, especially that is your teammate. He's evaluating all the time right now. He's saying, can I push him into making his tires work a little harder? Where can I see he doesn't want to push him off as his teammate, but certainly he's going to be evaluating the opportunity as the laps unfold. He'll be asking how many laps to go. That's a question he'll be thinking about.
Well, you know one thing, Rob Liddell was ready to go because with his skin tone, he certainly wasn't out sunbathing this afternoon. He was.
That's right. Well, he's sunbathing right now, or just heat bathing.
For the number 26, a very wide line in the tunnel turn for Andrew Carbonell.
Still chasing Gregory Lafuge there in the 83 Cayman up ahead of him. The gap has spread a little bit. Again, the big question mark is fuel. We've got two different marks here. Obviously, Porsche going up against Mazda. The Freedom guys who run the Mazda said, we're really tight on fuel. Jamie gave us a report that this Porsche Cayman might be tight on fuel as well. So they really need some help with the caution. Otherwise, they're probably going to need a splash. And it's not just the refueling time, it's that time down pit lane, about 30 seconds that it costs you driving at the speed limit, which is really the big difference here.
Yeah, we're just getting into that stage of these races where your recovery time from a trip down pit lane or an off-track excursion or avoiding someone is not so good. So a lot going on out there. The pressure's on, Brian.
Absolutely, the pressure's on, but you know, you talk about needing fuel. I went down there and spoke with the next level European team, and Eric Zimmerman said there's not a better driver than Gregory Lafuge out there right now to save fuel and still get the lap time done. So these guys are hoping for another caution. Many other competitors in the field not wanting that, but if anybody can save fuel, they believe in their driver Lafuge right now. And guys, you know, it's so hard to maintain the speed and yet conserve on fuel. It's all about rolling out of the throttle, coming into these high-speed corners and just letting the car float. That's difficult to do for a driver who's trying to stay in front.
About 37.5 minutes remaining here. Round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge from Sebring International Raceway. We'll be back. Back at Sebring International Raceway, ride with race leader Robin Liddell in the Stevenson Camaro Z28R. Working lap traffic here as we enter the final 32 minutes of round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. I'm Bob Varsha with Justin Bell, Calvin Fish, Brian Till, and Jamie Howe in the pit lane on a very hot day here at Sebring. And this racetrack, a combination of asphalt and concrete surfaces, is a challenge in the best of times, but now I'm sure it is as slippery as it could be. There's the number 26, Andrew Carbonell, still running second in the street tuner class. He is having braking issues.
I mean, we've seen this probably 3 or 4 times now in the last 15-20 minutes of this race. Here's another look at it, Justin. This is down into turn 10. So, you know, Piscatel, who runs a Mazda, said he was having braking issues. I'm not sure if Andrew's having a similar issue. We know he's trying to save fuel, so maybe he's just a bit out of a rhythm, getting down into these brake zones by trying to roll out of the power early, but certainly having some problems.
When you change your driving style like that to be save fuel, off the brakes a little early, you're carrying more speed on the, you know, off the power early, on the brakes late, you're carrying more speed to the apex, and these little cars are already right on the edge. And I think him finding his rhythm has taken a lot of time. And of course, you know, it doesn't take much to be off the pace here. And Andrew's a real pro, knows what he's doing, so I'm sure he'll be back on the pace any second.
To Brian Till.
Well, Justin, you talk about pace. One of the teams that always shows good pace in ST is Compass 360. Carl Thompson is the team owner. You guys bring 2 new Audis this weekend, but obviously not as developed as the cars that you guys have run in the past. Is that frustrating or teething problems you just have to accept?
You got to keep in mind, we've been running those Honda or Acura products since 2006, so that's a long time of development. We can't expect the car to be running like the Hondas were the very first time out. We've done a bunch of testing with the Audis. It's a really good platform. We're working through some of the ECU and traction control issues, and there is a difference between the street traction control and a race traction control. We're not allowed the latter, but the former actually is a problem. But we figured rather than doing more testing, Audi's got a big presence here. We've done some cool arrive and drive stuff with them, and the simple fact is you learn more when you go racing than you go testing. You can't replicate this environment on a test track no matter how hard you try. So for me, the great thing is, I know I feel bad for Paul being in that wreck. There was nowhere for him to go, but these cars so far have run every single lap of every single session this weekend. So on the engine side, the chassis side, we're very happy. We got some more electronic work to go, but it's the first race out. It's going to be good when we get it going.
It's great to see Audi here. Great to see two new manufacturers here, Audi and Mini both in ST.
We're seeing an interesting scenario playing out here. Connor Bloom has been flying here in this number 19, another one of those RS1 Caymans. He's a lap down on the leader, but he caught and passed him. So the car is flying. It's just a question of what might have been here for this team this weekend. He drops a wheel there a little bit wide, and the leader has to run right through it. But certainly Greg LaFouge didn't want any part of that. He's waving him by down into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, because, Carbonelli in the 26 is actually running faster lap times. The last time, Carbonelli absolutely equaling his lap times now, but it gave Greg the chance to basically pace himself, set his pace for the first time in a long time, and it just gave the opportunity for Connor to go to show his pace, actually. But he can't afford to put wheels off like he just did, because that, that's how you can lose that gap very quickly.
Look at this battle right here. A couple of Canadians going hard at it. Mark Wilkins, Scott Maxwell side by side down into turn 1. Camaro, GM versus Ford right here.
Moments ago we heard from Carl Thompson, who's running those two new Audi A3s. You think these cars come from the manufacturer as some kind of special street-based race car? Thompson said he actually bought his Audis off the dealer floor, quote, and paid retail, close quote.
I think this is why Gregory LaFouge eventually waved Connor by.
Little contact there. Whoops.
It's like I'm leading this race. Leave me alone.
Yeah. That's a cardinal sin. Roughing up the race leader when you are a lap down. Nevertheless, no harm, no foul. Race on. We'll take a break and return to a breezy and warm day in Sebring. We're back at Sebring, continuing with round 2 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge, the Microsoft Visual Studio 150. In case you're wondering, Microsoft Studio is a digital toolbox for applications developers. A big partner of the International Motorsports Association. Right now, well, Calvin, you said it, the Stevenson Camaros would be hard to beat. Right now they run 1-2 in the overall of the Grand Sport Division. Robin Liddell leading teammate Lawson Aschenbach. Matt Plum third in the Rumbum Porsche. Winners in round 1 at Daytona. In the ST category, we have Greg LaFouge in a Porsche, Andrew Carbonell in a Mazda, and David Murray in a BMW running in the podium positions as you check out our Continental Tire race recap.
Just looking back at timing and scoring, we talked about that outlap for Rob Liddell. I've just found that his outlap, his first flying lap, was 0.8 faster than anyone has gone here today. So how did those two Camaros get switched in positions? We'll put that one down to Robin in terms of fresh tires and laying the hammer down.
All right, so how will Stevenson let this play out as a team? Brian has more on that.
Well, in years past, they've let them race. What I can tell you, though, is about the ABS system on the 9, and it's one of those deals where there's an electronic issue that's going on right now in the car. They've reset it. They had this problem in Atlanta last year and got it sorted out. Mike Johnson said a lot of times these things will take care of themselves. Let's ask Mike, as far as team orders go towards the end of this race, are you going to let them race? Or are you going to tell them to stay as they are? Let's make a good point today.
Well, we're a 2-car team. And we're having a great weekend so far. We've been 1-2 every session, and we're just going to keep them right where they are. We've got a good 2 cars, and we got a long season to go, and there's no reason to have them fight. So if one of the cars has problems, maybe we'll do something, but right now we're just going to hold steady.
Talk about holding steady. Robin Liddell's outlap was absolutely spectacular. Is that something you expected to see?
Well, we told the guys they weren't going to be able to fight on the track. So you knew that Robin was going to go as hard as he could on that outlap to try to get him while the 9 was still on old tires. It might have been reversed had the 9 pitted first, but since Andrew was so hot, we brought the 6 in early. The 9 had a little bit slower stop, but Robin was obviously pretty quick on the outlap because he knew that's my one shot to get in the lead of this race. So, yeah, it was expected.
It was expected, but it was still very impressive, guys.
Well, it was within half a second of Matt Bell's pole time, and actually within a 100th of a second of what Andrew Davis did in the same car in qualifying. So that was how he got the hammer down and got that track position.
And both of the pole laps in the GS and ST divisions were new track records by a half a second in each case.
Amazing how much development goes on in racing as they go. As we're watching, the Rum Bum machine is lying in 3rd place. Matt, he's not really having, look at the cars getting loose. I mean, we actually thought, I thought it was going to be tighter, as in last better over the course of the distance, but I actually just think the Stevenson juggernaut right now, they're too strong, and there's too many places on this track they can stay strong. Fast corners, powerful straights.
Well, they come here as the defending race winners. And they did a 2-day test with GM, which is really in preparation to dialing the car in for the season. But they're here at this racetrack last week for 2 solid days, and that's what Matt Bell said. This is the best the car has felt in 2 weeks. It's kind of a weird statement to make, but they've been working on this platform for 2 weeks, so they've had every opportunity to get the car dialed in. This team was also there. They're having a great run here. The Mantella Autosport team, they currently run in the 4th spot with Carl Marcelli. Wilkins has been demoted by both Heidkotter now on a charge up to 5th, and Scott Maxwell in 6th. So Wilkins runs in the 7th spot in the Gulf liveried machine.
Well, earlier as we went to break, you saw Andrew Davis, after that yeoman stint in a very hot race car, congratulated by a gentleman in a dark shirt. That was Jim Campbell, who's the General Motors Vice President of Performance Vehicles and Motorsports. So I'm sure that had Andrew walking on a cloud to have the boss of bosses come over and say, well done.
And he's a great guy, and he's really supportive of all of his teams, drivers, and he understands the game, and he would have understood that Andrew was in trouble, and the fact that he dug deep and kept the car at the sharp end, and ultimately handed the car over to Ron Liddell to do his thing and leapfrog around the other car and get the lead of this race.
Look at right front wheel just
really
bounding in the air.
I think that's what's wonderful about motorsports, especially in the GT form or whether here in Continental Tires, is because of the way the manufacturers support it. And it's not just a board decision and a finance thing. It's a way of life for these guys. And we see it all up and down the grid.
Let's talk the ST class right now. Here's Jamie.
Well, Bob, C.J. Wilson Racing started 4th with Chad McCumbee behind the wheel. Stephen McLear still running 4th right now. What kind of car does he have?
Well, you know, Sebring's rough on brakes. You know, all we did was ride the whole first stint. Our car is phenomenal. Our mod space guys worked so hard this week. We were way off, and we made some huge changes before qualifying, picked up a ton of time, and I think we got a car that can for sure win the race. Steven's having to be a little easy on the brake pedal right now. Same kind of issues we fought here last year, and it looks like there's other guys doing the same thing. But I think we'll hang on and maybe it'll be in a race of attrition a little bit and see if we can't get our mod space Mazda victory lane.
When we look at strategy, specifically fuel strategy, do you think the 2 cylinders, do they have an advantage there?
Well, I think that it can't hurt. You know, we've seen some races come down to fuel mileage. We're really close on fuel. I think there are probably some other guys that's really close on fuel, but we'll just have to see how it all turns out. You know, they're punching numbers up there and telling Stephen be easy on the brake pedal and see if I think we'll get to the end just fine though.
All right, another Mazda conserving, guys.
Well, if they're conserving, I mean, Carbonell has 7 laps more on this run, so he's got to be in real trouble.
Chad McCumbee, you can tell he's from North Carolina, can't you? Another break coming up. So we are now within 18 minutes at the end of this race. Stay with us. Back at Sebring as the minutes tick away here in round 2 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge, the Microsoft Visual Studio 150. Robin Liddell leads teammate Lawson Ossenbach in the overall and Grand Sport classes in a Stevenson Motorsports Camaro 1-2. Greg LaFouge leads the ST category. David Murray still shown in 2nd place in a battle of Porsche versus BMW, but Murray just went by start-finish, dragging part of the exhaust system on that car. I'm not sure he's going to be able to go the distance with that hanging down on the track.
Well, this is a battlefield. We saw it with Terry Borchella losing a wheel, which may be attributed to the bumps through 17. And Murray, who finished on the podium at Daytona, has another really solid run going here. And the reason he's up into that 2nd spot is Andrew Carbonell has really been struggling with that 26 car in terms of keeping it on the racetrack.
Let's show you what we're talking about. We've seen him go off track a couple of times. Earlier on, he had this moment down in turn 10.
Maybe his second time.
And this is more recently. Same corner, same issue apparently. And down in the hairpin, just couldn't get the car slowed to make the corner at all and took the escape road.
Yeah, this is the big one. This cost him about 8-10 seconds on this lap. And consequently, he's now dropped down to the 5th position. So just hanging on, and I think the brakes on that Mazda just got away from him. We knew from Justin Piscatell, who put the Mazda on the pole, he talked about braking issues with his car in an interview earlier in this race.
I mean, they were pushing so hard. The car looked so strong. Once that happens around Sebring, you are just become a victim. Jamie?
Yeah, it's the third Mazda now that we've heard about this brake issue. The team is ready for a potential brake stop. They are having that braking problem. And talking to him, they said the top 5 was their expectation coming in. Their goal was a podium, but with this issue unfolding at the end of this race, it's not looking good.
So a number of very competitive cars suffering the slings and arrows of, well, your average race at Sebring.
We're on board with Andrew there, and he's basically got 0 brakes left. And look at this, is our 2nd place car, Bob.
Yep, this is David Murray. There you see the exhaust dragging on the ground.
Oh boy, hanging in there right now, but have to wait and see.
He's got to go another 8.5 minutes.
Trouble is, if that comes off, that then affects the engine performance and the back pressure and all sorts of things. So unfortunately, this is happening late in the race. Probably the system is working fine, but the question is, will it hang in there for the last 8 minutes of this race?
Looked like it's also at one point rubbing on the inside of the left tire there. So anyway, they've obviously very quietly put in a very strong run here to get themselves into this position. So it would be very unfortunate if they ended up being physically penalized by their own car, as in if they lost that power or caused them to spin. Worse so is if you're behind and it pops up and hits you. So
well, right.
Just what the stewards have to factor in terms of making that decision. Here we see the Mini, the 37. He's got some damage in the right rear corner as well. 5 car up to the 3rd spot. Stephen McAleer, another one of those little MX-5s, having a very strong run. Great driver, putting some tremendous performances over the last couple of years.
The Mini looks huge. He never looks huge, but it is actually a very big car. I actually drive one. That's what we have on the road at home. Great vehicle, and of course, nice to see it out here.
I'm particularly intrigued by this John Cooper Works model that team is racing. I have to look more into that. Coming up on 7 minutes remaining, our final break, the checkered flag coming up when we return to Sebring. Back at Sebring into the final minutes now. Round 2 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge, the Microsoft Visual Studio 150 from Sebring. We've talked all day about the heat these drivers and crews have had to battle. We'd be remiss if this race ended before we thanked all of the track workers out there at their corner stations doing vital work to allow this race to go forward on a very hot day at Sebring.
I'd love to know the radio communication between Robin and that team, because he probably wants to understand, do I need to push and fight against Lawson behind me? Or are you telling Lawson not to try and make a move? Because that's really critical here. And a team that's going for a championship over the course of a season.
Yeah, his posturing is that of a guy who's going to try and go by.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Lawson is looking, he's giving the aggression, and I think that is that's going to be quite meaningful. You're right. Robin may be saying, just back off by 2/10 and we can just finish this race where we are. One thing's for sure, radio communication will be hot.
Remember the battles last year when Andy Lally was in the other car and he and Robin Liddell were on the track as teammates, and there was always radio chatter about what's he doing, what's he doing? Meanwhile, what's he doing? In the number 83 Porsche, Greg LaFouge has been told to conserve fuel. Some concern on the radio that he might have had a sputter or two.
Well, he's got a 17-second lead, or he had a 17-second lead over David Murray on the last time across the stripes. We'll have to see if that margin is narrowed at all, and we know that Murray's got issues with that exhaust too. Hopefully they can both hang on, one with fuel and one with a mechanical issue.
What a podium that would be. Everybody with the scars of battle. There is Murray just coming through turn 17 in that white BMW. Perhaps he will be told that the race leader has fuel concerns, and despite his own problems with that exhaust, he might want to push even harder.
Just over a second he took out of the gap, so it's not really coming down much.
Yeah, right now I think he could conserve in the 83 without really compromising too much. Okay, if he got a radio transmission like apparently he did that said drop 5 seconds a lap, that is a massive conservation, and they're working out that they probably have less than 3 laps to go, and he's 15 seconds behind. So I'd drop 4.2.
And that's important. I mean, yeah, it's important to know that. And when you say just save fuel, it's like how much, put it in some perspective for me. 5 seconds is a monstrous amount. Then on this next lap, tell me what I did, because, you know, they have some predictive laps now on the electronics they can look at in the car, but really tell me where I'm at. Talk me through these final 3 minutes of this race and get me to the checkered flag.
Yeah, he's just been told you're running out. If not, you will not finish this race.
Don't come back here if you're running out.
Right. The fuel gauge is on E. He's looking at the tach and wondering how many revs he can run.
And it's really those brake zones. It's just coasting down those last parts of the straightaway and just not using the gas in the fast bits.
Now this is for position. The number 5 Mazda chasing David Murray there is Stephen McAleer. Oh, 26 is off.
Yeah, I think he's basically out of brakes now, so he's struggling big time.
I'd just drive straight to the Chateau Alarm bar if I was him and just try and forget this one.
Well, he was down the escape road and he still used more,
Do they have curbside service?
So we just heard over the radios that 83 is on reserve right now, but he has 1 lap to go coming up. So this is going to be very, very tight. He can afford to drop 10 seconds this lap while this battle is going on for second place.
He is on the long back straight.
Oh, he wishes this was his last lap. He can do it. He can do it.
Well, I think a lot of things.
Skip 2 laps out of the car. 2 laps, both of you.
I think the big thing is with these long green flag runs that we've seen here today has caught the teams out in a couple of ways. One is brake wear and one is fuel mileage. Typically you think, oh, we're within 10 minutes of making this. Well, suddenly it goes green. You're banking on a yellow in this form of close competition.
This is the battle for second in ST. BMW against Mazda. We learned in round 1 how important fuel calculations can be. In that race, the Rennsport Porsche Caymans were running 1-2 late in the race before one of their cars simply ran out of fuel because they didn't leave the nozzle stuck in the tank during their final pit stop long enough to get enough fuel in the car.
Interesting. I wonder if McAleer's been told, don't hustle Murray right now. You can both get to the front of this. But if you get into a fight, you're just only helping the leader. You will not win. So I'm sure there's a lot of communication going on, because I've been noticing. I mean, they are on the same straight right now. This is absolutely critical.
And Murray's a veteran of this form of competition. He's been competing in these sort of cars for 20, 30 years now. He went on a 5-race win streak here at this circuit, so he knows the place well, and he'll be digging deep into his notebook to try and bring it home.
White flag is out for the race leader.
White flag, cap is 20 seconds. 20-second cap.
That's not between the two of them. That's back to the rum bum machine.
Right, Matt Plum in the 13 rum bum car.
I think Lawson's going to be frustrated because he found himself in a similar track position at Daytona. It was for 3rd position and 2nd with Robin in front of him. Here at 2nd and 1st. And he's the new boy on the team. He doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. He wants to fit in, but he's very competitive. He's won numerous championships over the years. Recently, in the last decade, just has been on a tear in touring car competition and GT competition in other series. So he knows how to get the job done, and he's thinking, do I push? Do I make a statement here this early in the season?
You can only push before you hit a glass wall as far as he's concerned, because there's nothing he can do. And Robin, I think, he's carving his way through traffic, but Liddell right then. We saw a car just disappear.
That was Andrew Carbonell going through the
Oh.
hairpin again. Couldn't get it stopped.
Yeah, it's like a little missile coming in from.
Well, we
no, he's in the tires.
He's got nothing left.
Just get out. His pedal is.
I mean, he's going down the escape route there into the hairpin and still not able to stop. So he's using another 100 yards of racetrack. It's still not enough.
Yeah, I was right. Those beverages are in his mind. Look at this. This is just a wonderful finish for the Stevenson team. They look so strong. Lawson behind right now. You know, you can see his face, can't you? You know, he's a little frustrated, but right now the ST leader just came over with 1 lap to go, and they are only just behind. That gap is just absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's coming down big time. It's down to 10 seconds now, so it was about 5 seconds that Gregory Lafuge brought the car down to, but look at this. McAleer hasn't given up on David Murray. He's working him over big time.
Now remember, McAleer's teammate Chad McCumbee said, yeah, we're running out of brakes too. So what a battle between 2 battle-scarred race cars with a whole lap to go. About 3 miles to the finish for these guys right now.
Fuel issues, exhaust issues, and tire and brake issues. So everything going on. Sebring eats you up.
From exhaust to exhausted, I think, right now as they come through 17 for the final time.
A big race for this team a year ago when they brought that Camaro its first victory here at Sebring, a legendary track, an important victory, and today they will follow it up with a 1-2 finish in the Grand Sport class.
Johnny Stevenson there on the wall, congratulating Mike Johnson and the whole team, and Andrew Davis looking a little fresher now than he did when he jumped out of the race car.
Meanwhile, the battle continues in ST. Andrew Davis and Robin Liddell will celebrate 4th victory in the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for both men. 2nd win here at Sebring following their victory a year ago.
Lafuge is hanging on. He's running on fumes. Oh, there goes the exhaust off David Murray's car. The key is, will it affect the performance of that BMW down this long back straightaway with McAleer?
Hopefully it won't
in his
set it on
rearview
fire.
mirror.
McAleer will know exactly what this opportunity means for himself. I'm really very pleased that Greg is going to make it in the 83. I really hope so. He's got 1 corner to go. Let's not jinx him.
Not pull a diffie.
But let's not pull a diffie. But he deserves to make it.
Tell you what,
look at this
McAleer's got
battle
around Murray. McAleer has got around him. They're in traffic.
Yes, he has.
Look at that. Murray's in the marbles.
Oh.
He's going to try a last-minute braking to save himself.
And Murray has the advantage, I think.
Yeah, he does.
McAleer's going to try to go. No, he's going to try the outside.
No,
he's going to try and cut back underneath.
Get on the inside, the under, over and under. There he is. Is he going to do it?
The car? Victory for Greg Lafuge, and we're watching.
Oh, they touch! They touch!
Beautiful!
Oh, Murray's going to get it.
Murray gets it for BMW over.
Awesome.
Over Stephen McAleer's.
They should both be proud about that finish.
Absolutely. Great drive to the finish. Great competition. We'll talk to the winners when we return to Sebring. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sebring. We'll get to the celebrations in a moment, but we want to remind you round 3 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge comes your way from Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, May 17th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. So don't miss it. A terrific round 2. Let's take a look at the results, beginning with the Grand Sports class. Another big victory for the Camaro Z28Rs. Liddell and Davis beating Aschenbach and Bell, and congratulations to Matt Plum and Hugh Plum, who bring their Rum Bum Porsche home in 3rd place. Down to Brian Till in victory lane.
Celebration going on down here. John Stevenson and the crew congratulating Robin Liddell. And Robin, for you, I think the race was won on the outlap, not on the checkered flag lap. Impressive outlap.
Well, that's kind of how I felt it was going to be. I knew if I could dig deep and pull a time out of at that point in time, I'd probably get the jump. We were just a little bit lighter on fuel. We could stop a bit earlier. Andrew did a super job. You know, he had no cool suit. The helmet blower had packed up. So to stay in the car as long as he didn't keep fighting Billy Johnson and keep passing him and keep the car up front, that just gave me the chance that, you know, when it really counted at that point, the guys did a super job in the pits and I was able to push hard on the outlap. But congratulations to the whole Stevenson team. You know, pole position, 1 and 2, I think it's probably our best weekend ever, so super happy for the guys and obviously for Team Chevy with the Camaro Z28.
And another win for Camaro here at Sebring. Andrew, you guys finished 2nd at Daytona. You win this one. got to be up there leading the points, I would think. What does that do to your mindset as you head on the rest of the season? Are you done focus on it at all?
This is always about confidence and building confidence along the road all the way through the championship. That's how championships are won. So our best start by far for Stevenson Motorsports with the second and now P1. I got to give credit to the guys in the 6 car and the pit stops were just phenomenal. And that's really what gave us a great jump and allowed Robin to have that outlap. The first part of the race was obviously a battle through the heat, but just so proud of these guys. The Continental tires ran well and held under the car for the base of the stint. So yeah, just so proud of the Stevenson Motorsports organization here. Just really a jam-up job and great for Team Chevy.
And they said confidence, they've got plenty of it from the winners in GS to ST. Jamie?
Well, we covered the dramatic finish on the fuel. Greg LaFouche, 45 minutes from the end of the race, your crew said you weren't going to make it. Eric got down here, he said, you make fuel. What went into conserving it?
Just the standard short shifting, trying to go as fast through the corners as possible and lifting a lot at the end of the straightaways. So just basically getting our Cayman to be a momentum car instead of a power car. So that was our strategy. Our 83 Red Line Oil, next level European was on rails today. So the Continental tires held up from start to the end, and just a great race. Super proud of Eric Zimmerman here.
And Eric, very quickly, what was that like for you watching from the pit stand?
It was very surreal. This is very new to me, and I'm kind of the greenest guy out here, I think. And be able to sit there and watch Greg take it, from a decent position and bring it home. And as I said, he makes fuel. I know he does it. That's not the first time. And somehow deep inside, I knew that we were going to make it through on the fuel.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations indeed. And also to our ST class winners, Greg LaFouche and Eric Zimmerman, who picked up his first victory in the series. So we have a beating in the championship points as we head to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Absolutely. The big winners here today in GS and ST now lead the championship stands. Only round 2. Lots to go, Justin.
Oh, what a season we got ahead of us. Great racing. Love it.
For our whole team here at Fox Sports, we'll see you from California. Till then, so long, everyone.